Morning, everyone. Welcome to Saturday morning. I hope you got a cup of coffee. I hope you're sitting back and ready to just, kind of share this morning with us. I'm here with Greg Kuhn. If you don't know him, you will. You're going to fall in love with him by the end of this. Hangout. Greg Kuhn is we call him the Law of Attraction science guy. And it's because he's taken a lot of the law of attraction instructions and turned them upside down to make you understand in a new way why what you've been doing hasn't been working. Okay, that's just the bottom line. That's what got my attention when I first learned about his book, Grow a Greater You. It was that if affirmations work, then why aren't we all wealthy? And it was like, yeah, that's a head scratcher, because I know a lot of you are adamant, are practitioners of the law of attraction, and you've been reading the books and you've been applying the things that you've learned, and you've been doing it over and over and over again, faithfully, consistently, and yet nothing's changed. Well, there's a reason for that, and it's all explained in his book. But this morning we're just gonna have a discussion. It's like we just met at a coffee shop, really and truly. I've got some questions for Greg, and I know that he answers. We have a morning mindset call where we have been studying. Greg, you know this. We've been studying Charles Hannell, the Master Key System, and it's an incredible study. And all throughout, as I studied that, I kept thinking, okay, there's more to this now, because Charles Hannell wrote it over 100 years ago, and he was just on the edge of kind of alluding to there's science that we don't realize yet. It's just coming into being, and so he was right there on that edge, and he shared what he knew. But now we take classics like that and we read them, and then we bring Greg Kuhn in, who now brings quantum physics in to explain and to help us understand better. Okay, Greg, I am so excited to do another hangout with you and to dig a little deeper. Let's just dig in and see what's going on with a lot of people's lives. That's what I'm bringing to the table this morning. A lot of the discussions that we've had on our call and the questions that have come in. Anyway, thank you for being here.
Oh, you're welcome. Wow, I'm blushing from that introduction. Thank you. No, I would tell you, I have to. In no way do I want to diminish how good that felt to hear you say all those things, and I also want to in a loving way lob it back to you and say, as it is with all things, it is you who allowed me to fulfill that role in your individual universe during, at least, now in previous instances when you've allowed me to do that. And if you don't mind, also, by the way, the whole thing of if you don't know him, you'll fall in love with him, that's the line I used on my wife on our first date. So it worked then. I hope that it's...
Hey!
It seems to have, at least it's still working this morning. Do you mind? You said something. It made me think of a story that I hope will set the tone and illustrate the difference between Newtonian and quantum paradigms. Do you mind if I tell it?
I would love for you to tell it.
I've got a cup of coffee, right? And you said, have a cup of coffee, and what came to my mind is, what if I were slurping this cup of coffee, with the microphone next to my mouth, and how annoying that would be. You know what that made me think of? I don't know if anyone on this hangout or who's watching this has ever shared a bed with someone who snores. If you have, you know that and this is kind of an old joke. People say, let's say my wife is a snorer, and I say, honey, you've got a snoring problem. And she says, actually, you're the one that has the snoring problem, right? Because I'm the one that suffers. She's asleep when she's snoring. So, uh, but let's use that to illustrate the difference between Newtonian and quantum paradigms. A Newtonian paradigm, the old paradigms, would say that if my partner snores, then my partner is the one with the snoring problem, and for me to have a more pleasing experience, a more pleasing material experience, I have to fix that. I have to fix that to conform to the pleasant experience that I want. Okay, and that is not something that when we hear that explained, we say, well, yeah, of course, no, no, duh. That makes sense, right? I mean, if something's displeasing us, we got to fix it. We got to make it change. That's a Newtonian paradigm. And what I do want to say that Newtonian paradigms, they're not pointless. They're not useless. They don't make us ineffectual. They work pretty darn well, because they are based on how the universe actually works on an eyeball level, on a tactical, hands-on, ear,
Mhm.
eye, nose level. Um, but the reason they don't work as well as quantum paradigms is because quantum paradigms explain how the universe really works. You mentioned Charles Haanel, and we know now how the universe really works. And when I say this, you're not going to think it sounds unfamiliar, but it will sound a lot like a new age philosophy. But you know how to address a snoring person in a using quantum paradigms? If my partner snores and I apply my life to quantum paradigms, I say I'm the one with the snoring problem. Okay? I, I live that old quote unquote joke. Now, what that means is this: the snoring and my partner who's producing the snoring, that's a material experience. Um, I am observing it, right? It is now
Mhm.
something that I am experiencing in my version of the universe that I create for myself. Now, that's not to say that if you walked into the room to ask for another roll of toilet paper because you were a house guest and you heard the snoring, you also began to experience the snoring in
Mhm.
your individual universe. It's not that we would see and experience two radically different things, but yet we would still be seeing and experiencing a version of that snoring in each of our individual universes. And here's the reason why quantum paradigms say, I'm the one with the snoring problem, because I, as the observer who is creating my own individual universe, I am bringing context to that material experience that defines it for me, that makes it what it is in my universe. I'm bringing
Mhm.
meaning, value, uh, characteristics, significance, all of those things, and I am creating it for me. I may not always alter the physical context of that material experience, but I am 100% solely and completely responsible for the context, for what it is in my individual universe. Now, before people blanch and say, wait a second, that's ridiculous. Snoring is aggravating. I'm not making it aggravating. It is aggravating, right? Well, okay, I see your point. Here's what quantum paradigms do for us. Quantum paradigms, we don't apply our lives to them because we think, well, I'll be able to take things that are just horrible and make them good. I may never be pleased by snoring, right? And there's no reason that I should make that a goal. I mean, I guess I could, but it's okay for me to say, I'm not pleased by snoring. I don't particularly care to be around it. Uh, that's fine. However, given that it's my partner whom I love and want to continue to love and actually grow to love even more, um, doesn't it behoove me to create a version of snoring that is at least more pleasing, right? Uh, Now, if she were some stranger that I just, would happen to be sharing a room with for that evening, we're, forced to bunk up together or whatever, would it matter? No, but it's my spouse, right? So what I'm getting at is things like money, financial abundance, business success, career fulfillment, relationships with friends, families, romantic relationships, even considering having a soulmate, feeling good about our bodies, our health, our ability to have latitude and freedom in our lives. These types of things, don't we want to take advantage of opportunities to have more fulfilling experiences in these areas? I don't apply my life to quantum paradigms because I want to learn to call horrible things good. I don't want to call crime good or poverty good. I do want to have experiences of those things that are less harmful to me, less destructive to me, less derailing to me, but my goal isn't to call them good. But the principle behind accepting and adopting and embracing the idea that I'm the one with the snoring problem, meaning I'm bringing the context that's making it such a problem for me, that's making it so painful for me, when we accept that, when we adopt that, when we apply our lives to that, the amount of freedom we have, the amount of empowerment we gain, it's almost indescribable, because we are completely in control, always, at all times, of the context we bring. And you mentioned that the mastermind group and the study group. If anyone listening to this, even if they've never personally experienced this type of a perspective, even if it sounds almost too good to be true sometimes, it really is how the universe works. Believe it or not, and I mean that literally, believe it or not, this scientific concept is no longer being debated. The universe does not exist in a predetermined content awaiting our discovery. You know what I mean, Trisha? Like money does not await our discovery in a predetermined state of being difficult, scarce, hard to find. You got to do bad stuff to get it. You got to break the rules to keep it. You got to take stuff away from other people to get it, because there's a limited amount. If you want more than your slice, you got to take away from someone else's slice. There's no such thing as a predetermined state of being. So money literally cannot pre-exist awaiting our discovery, already having those characteristics. It is us who give it to money. And you mentioned, and then let me shut up and let's talk about how to do this. But you mentioned it right in the beginning. The whole key to freedom is this. Okay, I get that. Now, how do I change the context I'm giving? Because I don't necessarily want to change the context I'm giving to terrorists. Not to trivialize anything, but I do want to change the context I'm giving to my partner or money or my business, because I do want more pleasant experiences there. So how do we do it? And you said, we're told right away, oh, your feelings. Well, think positively. Have positive feelings. Avoid these feelings. Stick to these feelings. Unfortunately, that has the exact opposite effect than we thought it would. And fortunately, though, we can learn that, we can know that, and the resolution to that is really not rocket science. So that story wound up turning into a long story. So I'm sorry.
That's all right. No. No, it was too good. Yeah. And by the way, Bruce doesn't call it snoring. He says I purr.
See, now that's a version. And honestly, no, that's beautiful. And here's the thing, to me, and I don't mean to be preachy. I just want to use that as an example to illustrate, just to make sure we say this out loud in the hangout. is that when I get myself to a place where that's the authentic story that I'm telling, right? That's the goal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I want to stop being so displeased by the snoring, I start out, I always make sure that I'm acknowledging how I really feel, right? So when Bruce
Yes.
says, "Oh, that's purring," if that's it, if that is his experience authentically, and he's not annoyed at all, wonderful, right? But if sometimes he is, or if he used to
Right.
be, or whatever, I would imagine to get to this place, it's been important for him to say, wow, that's pretty damn annoying that she's snoring right now. And at the same time, I can also honestly acknowledge that, you know, if because here's a way that I would nudge my beliefs into alignment about snoring. I would say, boy,
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty annoying. I wish my partner weren't doing that right now. It's bothering me. And at the same time, I can also acknowledge that honestly, if I were given the choice, not be with her or be with her and have her snore, I would choose be with her and have her snore. And that's true. That is true. And at the same time, I still honestly wish she weren't snoring, right? You know what I just did? I told the best
Yep.
feeling believable story possible. I didn't tell a positive story. I didn't tell a good feeling story. But I also didn't tell a bad feeling story. I told the best possible, and I made it believable because I acknowledged how I felt. I don't know about you, Trisha. I've spent
Exactly.
my whole life trying to pretend that I didn't feel certain feelings and try to think my way out of certain feelings. And then especially after I encountered the law of attraction and I thought, wow, well now I really know.
I know.
I really can only feel positive feelings about things that I want to experience more of. But that best feeling believable story is the real key to doing double duty and raising our beliefs. But we can talk some more about that. But that's awesome. That way to go, Bruce.
Yeah. um. Oh wow, whole bunch of thoughts. Let's see if we can grab all of them and talk to them. Um. Here's the thing. Here's what going through this study with Charles Hannell,
Mm-hmm.
and the constant message was connect, making that connection. And in each lesson, he exercise to do of going into the quiet, into the stillness, the silence, and to achieve that harmony. A lot of people, I think we complicate this, and I think we do it by going out and okay, how do I meditate? What do I need to do? What's the right way? How long do I meditate? How do I sit? How do I breathe? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
all of that stuff comes in to where you're so focused on getting it right, so you can get the connection. It's just the natural state I think a lot of people struggle with that. It is I don't know. Does that make sense? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't know. Before I answer that directly, I just want a technical question. Can you hear my voice uninterrupted, unimpeded right now? Because I'm starting to hear your vocal
Yes.
is dropping occasionally, but I believe that you spoke to being in a place where I'm really focused on just being in the right frame of mind and getting it right and being really concerned with doing it correctly. Is that what you were talking about?
Yeah, how we complicate that process and we get in our own way, um, striving for perfection. I think is what it
Yeah.
is. We don't want to mess this up because this is too important. And I'm always looking for just the flow and keeping it simple, so to
Yeah.
speak. So I'd like to. I know a lot of people struggle with that, and it comes out on our call a lot.
Yes.
We know we should be sitting in the silence and allowing, whatever is to happen there, but we're confused about it. A lot of people are.
Yeah. Can I say something very personal about that? Uh,
Yep.
I I want people to know and hear this. I'm a master at playing Grow a Greater You and influencing my material experiences. I don't say that. I don't come to that conclusion by necessarily by judging myself against anyone else. Just my own internal sense of fulfillment and my own connection and ability and empowerment. Uh, and I hope that doesn't turn anybody off to hear me say that I'm a master. The reason why I said it is this: uh, every single day, I uh, react blindly. Every single day, I don't acknowledge feelings. Every single day, I find myself responding to my material reality as if Newtonian paradigms were the rule of the day. A master does not, in my experience, live this way of life perfectly. And I want to say to anybody who is being too hard on herself that, one, I really encourage people, don't ever judge your insides by other people's outsides. Because if all you did was watch my interviews and read my books and watch my YouTube videos and go to my website and read my articles, you might think, oh my gosh, wow, well, I can never be like
Mm-hmm.
that. Yet, if you talk to my partner and my children, you would realize, oh my gosh, if he can do it, I can definitely do it. And that's the truth. And you know
Yeah.
what? That's true. That's true for all of us, right? And I'm not saying there's nothing false or fake about anything that I write or talk about. If no one ever listened or read a single word I ever said for the rest of my life, I would continue to play Grow a Greater You every single day.
Mm-hmm.
It is beyond empowering. My life
Mm-hmm.
is beautiful and fantastic. One of the things that I have learned to do along the way is I have learned to tell myself the best feeling believable story about mistakes and missteps. And I don't know if I've got I think I've written about it in one of my books at least, and I have some blog articles about it. In a nutshell, here's the way I look at a mistake or a misstep. I, I look at them like volcanoes. When a volcano explodes somewhere on the planet, we know that there's a reason the volcano exploded, right? I mean, we know that tectonic plates exert pressure on themselves, and that sometimes they align in a fashion that exerts pressure. And we also know that there's magma under the earth, and it builds up and exerts pressure. And every now and then, that pressure has to be
Yeah.
released, and hence a volcano explodes, right? And it's often tragic when the volcano explodes. Very rarely do we say, oh, that's wonderful, but we certainly don't get mad at the earth. We say, this is unpleasant. We certainly understand why it's happening. And in a manner of speaking, we can even look at the volcano and say, well, at least now that's over for a while, right? I mean, okay,
Mm-hmm.
the pressure's been released, the volcano's exploded, now we don't have to worry about it, it's done. Um, Mistakes are like that, right? I mean, 99.9% of any misstep I take, I don't do it saying, oh boy, this is going to screw up my life. This is going to be awesome. I always think, this is going to be great. This is the right thing
Mm-hmm.
to do. This is going to work out. And
Mm-hmm.
if I really think that and then do something that turns out to be a pretty big misstep, well, that was a volcano, right? I mean, that
Mm-hmm.
misperception where I really honestly had the perspective that that was going to be a good thing to do, that would work out and would please me, it's good that I released the pressure, the volcano blew, and now I know, oh, how cool that I made that mistake. Because now I know I know about that misperception. And you know what? That misperception was just waiting there. It was sitting there, and it was going to be sitting there until I became aware of it. And how did I become aware of it? I became aware of it because I made this misstep. So actually, the misstep is doing me a favor, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
pointing out this pocket of illusion, if you will, or misperception, or certainly a perspective that doesn't serve me, and now I know about it. So, you know what? Meditation, um, I I know I talk about this in my books.
Mm-hmm.
I would also, I just picture myself taking the top of my head off and setting it beside me and just letting the breeze blow and just
Mm-hmm.
picture myself with no brain. I love to do that when I'm driving. Continue to be consciously aware of making, being safe actions and aware of my
Yeah.
surroundings, but just having no thoughts. And I imagine the thoughts being tangible, objects that drift upward, and I just let the breeze blow them away. And the more I practice
Right.
that, the easier it is to get into that state. And for me, I don't know how you and Bruce meditate, Trisha, but for me, that form of active meditation puts me in touch with the quantum field, the universal mind, God, whatever someone, whatever label feels more comfortable, and I can do that all the time. I don't even need to be in the car. I can do that, you know, at any point. My wife accuses me of doing that every time we're in a conversation. Maybe she's right. I
Whoa.
don't know. There's probably some
No,
truth to it.
we've talked about that often about people think that meditation is that time where you go sit by the creek or nobody around or anything, but
Hmm.
we've also talked about how standing in line at the grocery store or waiting for food or whatever, you don't have to be removed from
Hmm.
everything, from all distractions. You train yourself to just to go there, to allow that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I
It's
liked what I like your assurance that you just gave everyone listening that yeah, you're gonna make mistakes. It's okay. It's
You know what
okay. It's
else?
just
Yeah. And you know
yeah.
what else is, hopefully we're always going to have pain. Hopefully. I mean that 100%. I don't have any more misgivings about that. I honestly enjoy and expect pain because pain is merely a feedback loop that says to me, Greg, one of two things is happening. Either you're just becoming aware that you have beliefs that are not aligned with the desire that you have, or the beliefs that you hold that have been aligned with this desire, well, guess what? Your desire has grown. And now in both instances, all pain means is you have another opportunity to grow your beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
And whereas pain to me used to being, oh crap, are you freaking kidding me again? You mean I didn't? You mean this isn't fixed? You mean I'm not done? When is this going to be over? Right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm so
Mm-hmm.
sick of this. Why can't I get this taken care of once and for all? I got married, I got a college degree, I had children, I bought a house, I got a career. Are you kidding me? Come on. Isn't this, aren't I done? Right? I
Mm-hmm.
honestly used to feel that way all the time. It's very frustrating, and I was actually angry. And today, when I feel pain, and I was just talking about this with one of my business partners yesterday, that how cool to notice pain and annoyance in this area of our business, which you run a cool business too. Isn't it cool to have a business where every day I wake up and think, okay, how can I make suffering more optional? What a cool business, right? So to
Yeah.
experience pain and frustration in this component of my business is actually exciting because it means, hey, I'm becoming aware of an area here where I can raise my beliefs. And I know what happens when I raise my beliefs, right?
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
change my experiences. This is going to be fun, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Mm-hmm.
that awareness, because I think I can probably always expect to have blind spots. of denial and things like that. So
Hmm.
becoming aware is a really important part of the process. Yeah, so people, ultimately, there's two tools that anyone who's listening to this, if you do two things in your life and nothing else. And by the way, these two tools, they don't have to replace any other wonderful practice that you're engaged in, like being a part of the Naked Hippies Road Trip Mastermind Group. This doesn't replace anything like that. In fact, it's like pouring rocket fuel into anything that you're doing. Two simple things. One is name and claim your feelings. I don't care how clumsy it feels. I don't care how wrong it feels. I don't care if you have this illusion that the displeasing ones are going to turn into monsters, or if you're worried that it's the wrong feeling, you're not quite sure, you're giving it the wrong name. Who cares? Name and claim your feelings. Hey, I I don't do that perfectly. I
Yeah.
love to do it though. It's incredibly empowering. And then the adjunctive technique, or what goes hand in glove, is always tell the best feeling story possible. And to me, the real key, and you mentioned this, Trish, from a call the other night, that one of the real keys there is always,
Always.
always, always. And the reason I'm stressing always is because what I'm really talking about are the really painful, really frustrating, really discouraging material experiences, right? I mean, we hear we hear Greg Kuhn suggest name and claim your feelings and always tell the best feeling believable story. And I promise you, if you do those two things,
Hmm.
you are applying your life to quantum paradigms. You will empower anything you are doing, anything. Uh, the
Hmm.
key is, though, uh, we hear that, and perhaps it resonates strongly, and perhaps we're very encouraged, and then we finish listening to the hangout, and or reading the book, or being part of the mastermind discussion, and we say, absolutely, I'm doing this, and we walk out and we breathe the fresh spring air and see the birds, and we say, I'm on this, I've got it, I'm here. And those are real. I'm not making fun of
Yeah.
those perspectives. They're real. And then we walk out to the mailbox, open the mailbox, pull it out, and there's a credit card bill, and we open it up and find out that our partner spent $4,500 we didn't even know about, and we're so scared, so mad. All of a sudden, all that goes out the window, right? All of a sudden, we say, screw this, this is horrible, that's the way it is, my partner's an ass, that's the way she is, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. And all of a sudden, we don't name and claim our feelings, we don't tell the best feeling believable story, and it's understandable that we don't do that, right? What I am saying, though, is that if you or I want to adhere to how the universe really works, that that credit card bill, or that stack of dishes in the sink that our partner promised would clean and didn't, or my dropping the ball and forgetting my child's birthday, or whatever it is, those are the golden opportunities to
Hmm.
do this, because that's when we really, quote unquote, need it. Those are the material experiences that we want to affect, that we want to change more than any other, right? And
Yeah.
so we're not going to have the option of whether or not we want to tell a story. We're not going to ever have the
We're
option
going to
of
tell them.
choosing, do I want to give this a context or not? We will
Hmm.
always do that. The only choice we ever have is, do we want to tell the default stories we always have, the Newtonian stories that say the problem is you, the thing that needs to change is you, the reason I'm displeased is because of you or it, or do we want to be intentional about our stories and make them quantum stories, and make those stories that say, I am incredibly displeased by you. That's true. And I'm going to pay attention to the context that I'm giving you, because I'm in control of that. And if I nudge my beliefs higher, that context will improve, and my experience of you or it will improve. Now, somebody, like I said, somebody might hear that and say, that's baloney, Greg. You know, my accountant at work is embezzling money. You're trying to tell me that I can change the context I'm giving that accountant and have a more pleasing experience? It doesn't change the fact that the accountant is stealing money. I'll say, absolutely, you're correct. It does not, right? But here's what I will say. The Newtonian paradigms that have us continually and only focusing on it or that or him or her and changing it or that or him or her as a resolution for having more pleasing experiences, that Newtonian paradigm, as much sense as it makes to our eyeballs, has that ever really worked? Really? You know, I mean, we can sit there and demonize money all we want and sit around in a circle of people, and I am not making fun of this perspective. I hope it doesn't sound like it. I've been there. I can still go there on a daily basis, but I can gather a group of intelligent, rational people around me, and we can all sit around and commiserate with ourselves and talk about how unfair it is, how stacked the deck is, how rigged the game is, how impossible it is to fool money, to win the game, how unfair everything is, because to have money you got to be evil and you got to do bad things and you got to check your principles, and we can all pat ourselves on the back, and we can even start chants where we curse money, where we burn it in effigy. Does that have any effect? Does that make our experiences with money any more pleasing? Has it ever? Has it ever allowed us to experience financial abundance? No, it hasn't. So what I would say is, well, Trisha, you have experienced this. Plenty of people have experienced this. The quantum paradigms that empower us. Does it mean we're going to go ride? Does it mean that we're going to become, Donald Trump within a year? That's not impossible. But I'll tell you this. Yeah, maybe I'll never manifest my ultimate desires in any area of my life. But I'll tell you this. By putting the focus here, by using quantum paradigms and taking control of the context, which I actually do have control over, I can't think of a single area of my life where the experiences haven't become more pleasing, and I can think of many, many areas of my life where the pleasing nature has far surpassed anything that I would have scripted for myself back when I began. So there's a tremendous amount of freedom in this way of life. It has nothing to do with, blaming the victim, so to speak, right? Which, wait, or you're telling me, well, I'm creating all this, so you're saying I'm bad? No. We're just bringing context to situations. The context has to do with the beliefs we were given, the beliefs we have stored away. They were given to us as children. We didn't ask for them. They were given to us by well-intentioned people. They were trying to help us. They were teaching us what they knew. That's all. What else could they teach us? It just turns out that those beliefs are based on Newtonian science, and they're not complete, and they're much more limiting than the quantum ones. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, in your mastermind group, the success and fulfillment, this is the perfect place. And in those areas where someone is most frustrated in the moment, that is the time. That's the golden opportunity to apply her life to these ideas. And those two simple practices, name and claim the feeling and tell the best feeling, believable story. I know your group must talk about those things.
All the time. And thankfully, because of your book, I've been able to address a lot of the times when they start talking about, I'm feeling this way and I'm supposed to feel this way. We gotta push this away and be, and it's like, no, let's talk about this. Because as light bulbs just keep going off. The more I study this and the more I understand what you are teaching, that affirmations are really lies that you're telling yourself. And I've done it. I've done that for years. And I can say those affirmations with gusto. I can say them with all the passion and desire in my heart to make them true. But inside, my subconscious mind is going, are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah.
You know? And so when you realize that you got to get that fixed there. That those lies that you're telling your subconscious, it's just trying to protect you. It's trying to keep you safe and all. So you can't introduce something new if you're not believing it. But when you spoke that word freedom, it just came out real quickly as you were talking about. I name it and claim it and telling the best believable story that you can. It is freedom because all this time we've been struggling with, I've got to be the positive person. I've got to only think positive thoughts. I'm not allowed to feel bad today, so switch it up. Get out of the funk, switch it up. And the freedom that this gives to go, okay, I feel like shit today. I'm really pissed that this has happened. This feels crummy. All of that, you give it some space. You recognize it, you give it some space, give it a little voice, and that doesn't mean that you're going to attract more of it. It's just that you are now creating the harmony that is needed to get your beliefs and your desires aligned.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. I mean, for instance, my external hard drive with all of my pictures, thousands of pictures, all of my recordings from the call. It's like, it's my gold mine, I use it all the time. It has crashed. Something's wrong with it. And I spent the whole day yesterday trying to recover it and got to the end of the day and it didn't work. And it just pulled the energy out of me.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat there, and thanks to you, thanks to what you have taught, what I've learned from you, I sat there and told the best believable story that I could about it. Because the door's not closed on it. I was feeling stressed. I was feeling like crying.
Mm-hmm.
This stuff is important. And I go, but yet, I know there's a solution. I just haven't found it yet. And there is someone that can help me with this. So not all is lost. This isn't the end of the world, even though I feel like it is,
Mm-hmm.
So learning that process from you has just been an amazing, it is a burden lifted. That's what it is. It's like, okay, and as you mentioned, that class that you taught with Francis the other night, being very clear, being direct, that you always do this. This isn't a only do it on the big things, only do it on the little things, whatever. This is always,
Mm-hmm.
always, always, always. And that clicked for me. It's like, okay, because we're so conditioned. We're so programmed. We just go along and we tell our stories, don't we? I mean, anything that happens, we tell the story about it. And usually it's not the best believable story. It's the drama. It's about anything in our life, about money, about husbands, about children, about diet, about, whatever. We tell those stories. We're storytellers. We give it its space. And what learning from you is just to stop that. Don't run on default there. I love it. I'm so grateful for the continuous, okay, more. I'm getting it more and more. So yeah.
You know what I'm really grateful for, Trisha? Uh, I am really grateful in every time that we have the opportunity to communicate, whether it's seeing you post on Facebook or seeing an email or when we speak one on one. The ultimately, and I think many people do know this. Uh, all I can do, all you can do, all any of us can do is share the truth as we currently know it.
No, it's
We share our experiences, our authentic experiences, and I do share. I don't share my wishful thinking. I share my experiences, and we share what we do to apply our lives to this truth as we understand it, and then it becomes once having heard those things, it becomes uh, your opportunity or her opportunity or his opportunity to begin to walk the path. And I look at it this way: anybody who is walking this path is walking it with me. That's very
Mm-hmm.
uplifting to me. I love that. And I also love to hear from people who are walking the path. So many of us, and I know I have been there as well, uh, I used to sit on the sidelines and say, tell me, give it to me. Tell me what it is. Tell me how it is. Tell me what to feel about it, what to think about it. Like, put it in me. And it reminds me of, I think there's a lot of spiritual writing out there that people don't sometimes think of. I think one of the most empowering things anybody who wants to, whether we call it law of attraction or quantum paradigms or grow a greater you, whatever, anybody who really, really wants to gain the most value, who maybe is feeling like, okay, I still, you know, I'm I still feel like I'm still struggling getting the most out of this, or living it to the fullest. Read a novella or essay, whatever you want to call it, by Thomas Paine called Common Sense. And I'll tell you in a nutshell, anyone who hasn't read Common Sense, Thomas Paine, what he says is that he's talking about God, and it's an essay about church going, and he says that anybody else's anybody else's description of God is hearsay. The only way to know God, he doesn't say you shouldn't go to church or shouldn't listen to what someone says about God, but if you go to church so that you can hear what God is from someone else, you don't know what God is. The only way to know God is to discover God, right? And you had even mentioned, talking about the like meaning of life and struggling and things like that. And those are awesome topics, and I'm sort of broaching my experience with that by talking about this. But this is the same way. Not everybody is ready, perhaps, to walk the path. And I don't say that as if, oh, you have to be so special, you're a chosen person, or you're enlightened. You know what? What makes me I'm as far down the path as I am, primarily for one reason, because I had a loaded gun pointed at my head. And I
Yeah.
don't say that in jest. I mean, those of us who have quote unquote been to hell, uh, we've been given a gift, you know, because that type of motivation to escape that kind of pain, to resolve that kind of pain, to never want to go back to that kind of pain and suffering. I don't wish that on anyone, but what is we were talking about, Roger Bannister was the first person
Mm-hmm.
to run a sub 4 minute mile, and prior to running that mile, everybody from medical doctors to athletes or to coaches were all completely comfortable saying that it was humanly
Not
impossible
possible.
to run that 4 minute mile. And do you know how he ran the sub 4 minute mile? The story. Um, he had his friend set loose an angry bear. No, I'm just kidding. But but that but I had an angry bear chasing me,
Yeah.
called bankruptcy and foreclosure and divorce and shame, and and all those things. By the way Bannister really did run it, it illustrates quantum paradigms. It illustrates grow a greater you. What he did was he tricked his subconscious brain into authentically believing he could do it by having track athletes run the requisite pace that was going to be required to break the 4 minute mile, right? He had groups of track runners who, pardon me, who ran alongside him and for a period of time, and then swapped out with a fresh runner. And the runners only ran until they couldn't, and then a fresh runner would take his place, and but all along each of his companion runners were all running the appropriate super fast pace, and his subconscious brain kept saying to him, well, this guy beside me is running this pace, I can run this
Mm-hmm.
pace. He tricked
Very
himself
cool.
into running, and it worked, right? And
Wow.
it's well documented, although I didn't know that part of the story. That was very affirming for
Wow.
me to learn, because he played Grow a Greater You, right? He
Yeah.
was honest with his subconscious brain as he tricked it for its own good, so to speak. And then, of course, as probably most of us know, as soon as that sub 4 minute mile was validated, everyone around the world started to do it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Mm-hmm.
true. That Mark Twain quote, I don't even remember what it says exactly, but something about, you know, every time somebody, there's fools, there's so many fools today doing all this stuff that is supposed to be impossible. You know, what the heck are
Yeah.
they doing? You know, what's up with
Yeah.
these people? You know, they shouldn't be doing this stuff. It's impossible. You know, but it's true. Come on, Trisha, you're seriously saying that we can actually intentionally take control of the context that we're giving to something that has really haunted us and caused us to suffer our entire lives. You're saying that I can take control of the context of my health, the context I'm giving to my health and my body, my money, my relationships. These are, I mean, come on. I can't do these things are just the way they are, right? I've spent my
Yeah.
whole life seeing other people circumvent the way they are and leaving me with one conclusion, and that conclusion being there must be something wrong with me, right?
Yeah.
And now you're saying to me that I can take control of the context. Well, Trisha and I aren't saying, and I'm sure Bruce would echo, we're not saying that okay, in a week, because I don't put those expectations on myself. You know, I don't expect that I'm going to be in my relationship that I'm always going to choose to create a version of myself and my partner that pleases me and serves me, and you know, yeah, I'm going to
Hey,
stumble.
Bruce.
You know, we're all going to do that, right? We're going to stumble. We're going to make mistakes, but it does work. It works because you said it.
At the edge.
The positive affirmations, they're alive.
Yeah.
Positive affirmations, the reason that they got such acclaim and were pushed front and center, they do work beautifully in two ways. One, when they reflect authentically what our really aligned beliefs are, right? Like if when I feel positive thinking, when they when that's in conjunction with authentic positive beliefs, they work beautifully. And then the other way they work is even when they're not aligned with my authentic beliefs, they still allow me to feel good in the moment. You know,
Yep.
they do change how I feel in the moment, and there's not necessarily anything wrong with that per se. The thing that's wrong with that is although they allow me to feel good in the moment, they don't alter or affect or nudge upward my beliefs, right? So we can still utilize a a story or a context that is feels pretty decent, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
I'll give an example. When I'm in traffic and someone cuts me off, or if I let someone in and they don't wave, so it always bugs me. Like,
Yeah.
come on, wave. It's just this is how humans, social lubrication. It's how we work together. Come on, wave. I mean, you're breaking the contract. You know, maybe I'm a goofball, but that
No.
what I say, and I authentically believe this. I bet that person is in a stressful hurry somewhere,
Yep.
And if I were in that person's shoes, I would probably feel exactly the same. And it's actually more important for that person to get there faster, probably. I mean, I really believe that. Okay, and that is a pretty good feeling story to give context to being cut off in traffic.
Hmm.
What and there's nothing wrong. I really believe that story.
Yeah.
However, what I've learned to do is to make sure, even though that I really do believe that story, I'm not lying, I make sure that I do acknowledge that what prompts me
Amazing.
to craft that story in the first place is the very fact that it does annoy me, right? So
Hmm.
I say, that really pisses me off for a second, you know? I mean, I really do feel pissed off about that. And at the same time, I know, and then I go into the better feeling story, just naming and claiming the feeling,
Hmm.
just that action. And then just paying attention to making sure the story includes an acknowledgement of how I really believe,
Hmm.
and just making sure that I don't go pie in the sky. Oh, I don't really care about that. It doesn't matter. Just keeping it toned down to
Yeah.
what I guess better feeling, not good feeling, better feeling
Right.
or best feeling.
Hmm.
Say that
Best
best
feeling.
feeling possible, right? Not
Hmm.
good feeling, because people will email me and say, "Hey, I'm having trouble coming up with a good feeling story about this." I got an email the other day. These things are going on with my daughter. I'm having trouble coming up with a good feeling story about this. And I emailed her back and said, "Well, yeah, why would you have a good feeling story about that? I could never have a good feeling story about that. Not authentically. Uh, maybe after a while, but it probably would take me a while. But so, yeah, please, I'm giving you permission to let go of this idea that you're supposed to have a good feeling story, because that material experience is scary. You know,
Hmm.
what's good about it? Acknowledge that, and like people in the mastermind group, if there are areas of their lives where it's just so darn scary, or it's been an area of failure for so long, that the best feeling story for me, when I began doing this in those kinds of situations, the rubber hits the road, so to speak, like a really, really scary thing happens, the very first time that I did it in that situation, I named and claimed the feeling that I was scared and worried, and then I said, um, there's nothing about this that I could ever imagine being anything except bad. Seriously, that is how I feel. And I also know, honestly do know, that me labeling it bad is a choice, it's a perspective. It doesn't literally mean that it is bad. It feels bad, but in other words, this event isn't predetermined as bad, and I do want to call it bad. Let's acknowledge that. I'm not calling it good. And I know why I want to call it bad. All I'm acknowledging is that I don't literally have to label it bad. I don't literally have to say the only meaning this could ever have is bad. I don't even have to give it a label.
Hmm.
I can say it's information that I'm wanting to label bad. That still means it is actually only information. Okay, so that was my best feeling story possible. This is information, it literally is information that I couldn't imagine a more displeasing experience of, and information I don't want to be receiving, and information that I can only imagine calling bad, yet still only information. And I can choose to say it's only information. Now,
Mm. Yes.
in that experience, I completely and steadfastly acknowledged how I felt, and I avoided going full on, the earth has opened up. And you know what? That that simple decision, and it wasn't a positive thinking exercise, it wasn't a good feeling story. It kept What I learned is that when I do that, I keep the potential alive in the moment for any
Hmm.
outcome.
Mhm.
It doesn't necessarily make me feel better in the moment. It doesn't necessarily change everything in the moment, but it keeps the potential alive. And so that does feel better. And it also nudges my beliefs in that area slightly higher,
Mhm.
right? So it takes advantage. So doing it when the rubber hits the road, it's taking advantage of a wonderful opportunity to really apply our lives to it. That's the always, always tell the best feeling believable story possible.
Mhm. I, that is, wow, that was powerful, Greg. It is, to me, it's being authentic to yourself, really. Um, as we keep talking about this, but when that stuff happens, when something in life comes along that's just, it is pretty awful. You
Hmm.
can't see. We're taught to look for the good, and yeah, every experience, I believe this, every experience that you have is an opportunity to learn and to grow. You
Hmm.
can choose that, uh, but it doesn't change what's going on in the moment. What you're dealing with, and I like being authentic about it. I like just being able to just tell it how it feels. This is how it feels. This is real. This is
Yeah.
how it feels without masking it with. But everything's just going to be okay,
Right.
and it all works out, and all those things that we've been taught to say and to believe. No, just be real.
Yeah.
Just gut wrenching real about how it feels,
Yes.
and but yet leave the door open for I don't I can this is just information that I'm processing. This is just information that I'm processing.
Hmm.
um, and so yeah, seeing the leaving that open for potential to see it through, however
Yeah.
it's going to be. I love that. It's so helpful.
It's not about feeling good all the time. It really
No.
isn't. We've harbored this illusion that our feelings are the cause or source of the
Yeah.
material experiences.
Yep.
What quantum paradigms, or what we've now learned is this: the the context we provide to the material experience creates our version of the material experience, and the version we're experiencing is what causes the feeling, right? So
Yes.
what we're looking for invariably is not to feel good all the time. We're looking to have more pleasing material experiences, and
Mhm.
feeling good just means, if it's authentic, it just means that our version of that material experience is aligned with our desires for it. What we now know is it's not about making our feelings better and chasing better feelings or conjuring better feelings. It's about going to the context, going to the source of the experience, which is also the source of the feelings, and feeling our feelings, whatever they are, because that's the illustration. That's the feedback that tells us what context we're bringing, right? When I feel bad or when I feel good, all that's doing is alerting me to the context I brought to this
Yes.
time space and applied to this experience. And if I want to change the context, I have to change the belief from which the context is derived. And if I want to change the material experience, I have to change the context, I have to change the belief. But the feeling, this is yeah, this is absolutely not about monkeying with our feelings. It's not about
Yeah.
gerrymandering our feelings or only feeling good, or
Mhm.
by no means. In fact, and it's also not about controlling feelings or being a robot, or
Yeah.
uh, it is simply, I think those are the types of fears that I have encountered as what would you say, that reservations to try to hold on to Newtonian paradigms, where I say,
Mhm.
no, 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 don't feel. For me, I have felt an aversion to feeling worried, feeling scared,
Mhm.
feeling inadequate, uh, and feeling like I'm letting people down. All four of those, more than any other, those tend to be, um, for me, feelings that I get pretty darn uncomfortable with just admitting,
Mhm.
and for whatever reason, and it's very empowering now. to say, I'm worried about that. It doesn't mean, when I say I'm worried about something, it doesn't mean that I don't also have a better feeling story that I really believe. Uh, Acknowledging that I'm worried actually empowers that better feeling story. It empowers it with the authenticity to be real, to be accepted, to be embraced, especially accepted and embraced by the one part of my brain that I really, really want it to be, and that's my subconscious brain, right?
Yeah.
So the mere act of naming and claiming the feeling, it truly, like you said, Bruce saying you're purring when you snore, the mere act of naming and claiming the feeling that accompanies that story, that context, it really does. It's like if you've ever been, having a cookout and somebody thought it would be kind of cool to like squirt lighter fluid on the charcoal. I've been known to do that, and it is kind of cool. We
Yeah.
know what happens when we do that. Well, that's what naming and claiming the feeling does. It squirts lighter fluid on the power of that
Mhm.
story, that context that we're bringing. And that, wow, what an opportunity we have in doing such a simple thing.
Exactly. Yeah. So as you were talking, I was thinking. I guess I was hearing the voices in my head of our mastermind group. Is like, where but thoughts become things, and we're supposed to only think positive
Hmm.
thoughts.
Hmm.
So now you're telling me, wait a minute. Now you're telling me it's okay. It's okay to we don't allow ourselves to express worry
Hmm.
or doubt. We don't. No, 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 no. I'm not going to speak it because I'll attract more of it.
Hmm.
And you
Right.
you just completely turn that around,
Yeah.
which
Remember.
gives freedom, which gives like, okay, I can be real instead of pretend. I can be
Mhm.
real. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what? Let me say this as succinctly as I can, to piggyback on what you're expressing. I don't want to feel worry because it concerns me that feeling worry will empower it, and feeling
Mhm.
worry will empower more worry. And
Mhm.
that's super logical. I mean, really, it is. I mean, the eyeball evidence, the Newtonian paradigms, even what some people would teach us to do, I completely understand that line of thinking. The paradoxical flip of it is this: by treating that feeling, worry, in that manner, what I am doing is actually adding a layer of cement to what caused that feeling in the first place. And
Mhm.
meaning that without acknowledging that the worry feedback loop is there,
Mhm.
I can't get to the context that created it in the first place, and
Mhm.
that's the only resolution to it. So if if
Right.
if my true concern, and understandably so, is, wow, I don't want to continue to experience whatever this is in a way that causes me to worry, it's natural for us to think, well, then I got to stop worrying.
Mhm.
That's the
Mhm.
solution, right?
Mhm.
I got to
That's it.
learn to stop worrying. But we can't outthink feelings, because feelings are not a rational, logical response. They're a feedback loop. It's like, can you outthink a fever? I mean, a fever is a fever, right?
Yeah.
Feelings aren't there to be logicked. That Spock from Star Trek and Data from
Mhm.
Star Trek: The Next Generation, uh, that's a human fantasy, I think, to be able to say, no, I don't have this feeling. I'm going to
Mhm.
choose my feelings. We don't choose our feelings. Our feelings are feedback loops that we have, and and they're very, very valuable, right? What we really want to do when we think about changing our feeling, what it is we're really wanting to do is change the experience that causes the feeling. And pretending we don't have the feeling, or thinking the feeling through and logicking it away, that doesn't work.
No.
That's a sophisticated form of denial, and it's actually a technique that a 5-year-old would be proud of employing. But we as adults, and then we do it, So I'm not making fun of
Yeah.
anyone else. I do it too, right? But yeah, it's the context. And
Mm-hmm.
I acknowledge the feeling, wow, all of a sudden I'm in touch with the context because I've taken the power away from the feeling, I've demystified it, and I've objectified it. I mean, I haven't not felt it, but I've stopped identifying with it and making it my identity, personifying it, and I've said, oh, it's a feedback loop. It's
Mm-hmm.
a displeasing feedback loop. So it calls my attention to a context I'm bringing to this. It's the only thing I ever had control of anyway. So now we're empowered, and all from that one simple action. That's the first step.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, as scary as that can be sometimes to do.
Yeah, but it's earlier in the call you said when these feelings come up, it like you said, it's just it's information. It's not you. It's just okay. Here's your signal. There's something going on here, but you said it's either this. It's either that there's a belief that's not quite lined up with your desires yet, or you're ready to grow even greater.
Mm-hmm.
It's time to expand. It's time to think bigger. It's time to move on.
Mm-hmm.
Matt, you've gotten it. You got this. Let's move on, and that's exciting to me.
Yeah.
Both are positive. Both
Yeah.
are both are. It's time for change, and one way or the other. That's exciting to me.
It's an
Yeah.
opportunity to to quit pretending that I'm small and unimportant in this
Mhm.
area of my life, if I want to,
Mhm.
right? There's
Mhm.
no rule that says I have to, but now I'm aware, and I have this opportunity. Because ultimately I have to pretend that I'm small and unimportant. I
Yeah.
can't really be that, right? I have to conjure that.
Mhm. Absolutely. Wow, Greg. Um, wow. I'm excited. We're going to start your book on Monday in our group. We'll be reading from it, discussing it. I look forward um, to many lives being transformed by
Me
the
too.
study of this book. I'm excited for this group, and we're ready for it. I could tell that it was time, because I talk about it a lot. But I go, okay, we're going. We're going to go do that. You guys, Greg has written several books that started. You can find them on Amazon. Why Quantum Physicists, and it's why quantum physicists never get fat, why they create more abundance, why they do not fail, why they do not suffer, and also how quantum physicists build new beliefs. They're all available there. Hardback copy, you can have it mailed to you, but you can also pick up the Kindle copies and have them on your iPhone, on your tablet, on your laptop to read. I would just get them, especially to go along with Grow a Greater You, because I know each one there's just another piece that you're going to want to get. You're going to go, oh yeah, okay, now it's all going to come together. So the other thing I wanted to mention, Greg, was that I did listen to that teleseminar that you did with Francis Faden the other night, and I think it's still available, you guys. I will put a link to it. I already did in the group, but I will put it here with this Hangout video that you could go on and buy the MP3. I would just say go get it. The things that Greg and Francis talked about and shared in that, it's an hour and 30 minutes. You're just gonna go, okay. He talks about telling the best believable story, always telling the best believable story. He gives you step by step how to do that, and so I would highly recommend you get that. And then what's coming up in June, I'm excited about this, is that Greg and Francis are going to do a 4-day workshop. I think it's once a week. Is that right, Greg?
It's once a week, and then we skip a week, and then 2 more weeks.
Okay,
Well, it's
so you
2 weeks, and then skip a week, and then 2 weeks.
in 2 weeks for the process of growing a greater you, going through this process of playing the game, grow a greater you.
Specifically
So
with money. Yeah. And
there's the keyword money. Yeah.
yeah, Trisha,
So,
thank you so much for saying that. If you don't mind me saying, Francis and I are going to continue to
Mm-hmm.
address topics or revisit topics with the case, whatever the case may be. But I just want to say that for me, because I play this game and I'm an active practitioner, and that's for me the most rewarding thing. Thank you so much for all those nice things and the praise. It's wonderful to hear. I uh, I want people to know that my understanding grows, my experience grows. One of the most exciting things about working with Frances, for anyone who hasn't listened to that call, Frances is really, really good. She's very professional, and what she has said to me is, okay, Greg, you say that your desire is to make suffering optional. I am going to challenge you and push you and never settle for anything less than a laser focused, most impactful, most valuable, most teachable, most usable uh, relation of this game, of applying the quantum paradigms to whatever topic we're talking about. And
Mm-hmm.
if you're willing to walk with us as we do that, there will never be anything put forth from Francis and myself that is not our current best ability to
Yes.
deliver that. And what I would expect, and this excites me, is that that ability will continue to grow and grow. So
Mm-hmm.
it's very exciting as a practitioner to have opportunities to go there and and say, no, you know, uh, what I've done before isn't good enough now. I mean, I'm not. I'm proud of what I've done before.
But there's more to do.
I'm embracing the
Yeah.
challenge to grow as my beliefs grow, to grow as
Mm-hmm.
a practitioner, to grow as a writer, to grow as a teacher, and anyone who is walking with me. Trisha, I have so enjoyed reading and hearing your journey, and I want to say to all those who are part of this mastermind group and to people who haven't yet availed themselves of Naked Hippies Road Trip mastermind groups, you are working with somebody who is authentically walking the path. Now, the benefit to that, of course, is you're not hearing somebody's theories, right? When you listen to Trisha, you're not hearing someone's ideas of how they wish it were or think it ought to be. You're hearing somebody's experiences walking the path, and I realize other people are walking the path besides
Mm-hmm.
folks in the mastermind group and people, who make uh, information available such as this. It's wonderful though when we encounter each other and empower each other and know that we're there for each other and that we all win because it's win win win. Do.
It is.
It
Yeah, it
is.
is. Absolutely. All right. Well, I hope that we'll do another one of these after we've got a few chapters under our belt. And,
Great.
I think that would be a good thing. And I so appreciate you, Greg. I appreciate your willingness to be here. And you're very gracious to give us this time and to continue to teach us. And like you said, the one thing you were saying, this is my truth. You know, this is your story of how you have come to develop this. What I share is my experience, my truth about my experience with this. And I always remember that T. Harv Eker said, "Don't believe a word I say," because it's my word. You have to find, is this true for you? It'd be great if you did, but you have to get in there and experience it. So we will be studying this book on our mastermind group. I'll put the numbers below. You are more than welcome. Whoever's listening to this, if you're not part of that group, you're more than welcome to dial in. It's Monday through Friday. It is study and open discussion, and all are welcome. And come as you are. It is, it's just an open call. So I'll put that information in there, and I really look forward to the transformation that is happening already, and will continue to happen with the people that are part of this group, and with the people that every life you touch, Greg, lives are being changed, and that is just that's why we're here.
Thanks for the
That's why we're
opportunity.
here.
Thank you for
Yeah.
the opportunity. It's beautiful.
Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, we'll see you on the next hangout. How's that?
Look forward to it.
Okay. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Got to get my mouse up here.